Hello students, welcome back after a long spell of holidays. I hope you are freshened up and geared up to attend this class. So today's topic, basically, we have taken from a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. Okay, and this book is written by Sean Covey. Okay, and basically this book is based on another book of Stephen Covey, who is the father of Sean Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Okay, so this particular book, Sean Covey, he has taken from that particular book, in which he has used the content of that book in order to suit teenagers or youngsters. Okay, so today's class basically is based on this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, written by Sean Covey. And I would encourage you, if you have the time, please do buy this book. It's available on Kindle, it's available on Amazon, so it will really be a helpful book for you. Okay, so Stephen Covey, who is the father of Sean Covey, on which this book is based on, the famous book written by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So he had embarked on his quest to understand the nature of success. I believe every one of us want to be successful. Okay, so he began himself by immersing himself in some 200 years worth of literature on this topic of success, starting from 1776. Okay, and based on his research, he found out that basically there are two methods that you can achieve success. Okay, so the first method is for you to work on the skills necessary for the behavior. That means basically this first method focuses on the skill, how to communicate, how to, let us say, present yourself, okay, or how to be good in your vocabulary, in your let's say grammar. In basically it focuses on what we call as on the external parts, on the external. Okay, so for instance, if you want to improve your relationship therefore with others, you might study communication or body language techniques. Okay, so he called or we call basically this method as the personality ethic method. Okay, the personality ethic method. All right. Okay, so that is the first method. But Stephen Covey goes on to say that there is another second method. And what is the second method? And he says that this second method is far more effective. It is far more effective than the first method. And why? Because it works on your character. It works on your character. That is why it is also called as the character ethic method. And what does this method talk about? It focuses on working on your character, that is the fundamental habits and belief systems that form your view of the world. Okay, so according to Stephen Covey, real success can come when there is a change in character. Okay, when we focus on the character. Okay, so this kind of a change, as you can see here, it is a kind of a change which works from the inside out. The first method basically is from the outside. Outside, you change on the outside, and then the change can come on the inside. But basically, this second method focuses on, change from the inside out. Okay, so therefore, this is important. Why? Because especially sometimes we change sometimes changes that comes in us, it doesn't come from inside. Like there was a boy who wanted to change, was into drinking and all, and so he got a girlfriend and he said, okay, for your sake, I'm going to change. But then after some time, his girlfriend ditched him, and again he went back into drinking. Okay, that is a kind of, I'm just giving you an example, it is a kind of an external kind of a change. You change, the environment changes you. But when changes come from the inside out, that will produce the lasting change in you, and that can really bring true success in your life. Okay, so therefore, Stephen Covey, he says, in this particular Sean Covey, in this particular book on the 7 habits of highly effective teens, he says like this. Okay, so if character is a very important. So if changing your character is very important in order to achieve success in your life, so the question is, so how can you work on this character? How can you work on your character? Okay. One particular aspect is this. If you have ever tried to navigate the streets of a foreign city, you know that a map is useful. For instance, now if you go to an unknown city, you have Google Map. And through Google Map, you can navigate yourself. You can find out your destination where you want to go. Okay? But what happens is, but when you navigate the world around you, instead of a map with streets and addresses, you use what you call as paradigms. But in your life, if you want to reach your goals, if you want to reach your direction, if you want, let us say, to move in the right direction, you need what we call as a paradigm. Okay. So what is a paradigm? A paradigm is the subjective way of each of us in which we perceive and try to understand the world. It's like what I would call as a prism. Okay, as a prism, or as a mirror in which you would look at the world. Okay, so the thing is, what type of or which paradigm should you strive for? Okay, so 7 habits, this attaining this kind of a principle based paradigm, okay, is what the 7 habits are all about. Why? Because the most effective, paradigm which you can achieve in your life is, which are aligned with larger universal principles. Okay, like based on certain principles like honesty, like integrity, like fairness. Okay, so those are the kind of principles, and when your paradigms are aligned, when that particular paradigm, okay, or let us say the way you look at life is aligned to certain basic principles, basic universal principles, okay, then it will help you to achieve the kind of true success that you need in your life. Okay, so attaining this kind of a principle based paradigm is exactly what the 7 habits are all about. Okay, so applying these 7 habits, in which it will change the way, the perspective in which you look at life, that will basically help you in order to achieve that success which you require in your life. Okay, so therefore let's directly go into this topic now, the 7 habits. Okay, and so let's see what is the first habit that Sean Covey talks about. So the first habit that he says that you can achieve success in your life is, be proactive. Be proactive. Okay. Now, as you can see here, what distinguishes humans from animals? Okay. Humans, or animals, they are reactive. Okay. A snake, if it sees another person, if it sees a person, a human being, naturally it will be inclined, it will react, it will like bite that person. Okay, so why? Because they are reactive. Animals are reactive. Okay, but on the other hand, humans, if you see in contrast, we can reflect on a stimulus. Okay, that means before I respond as a human being, before I respond, I can reflect, I can decide, I can choose what kind of response I would basically be making. Alright, that's the major difference between human beings and animals. Human beings, they can reflect on the kind of response, but animals, they cannot. Why? Because they are reactive. Okay, so the first habit says you need to be proactive in the sense. Why? Because when you reflect on the kind of response that you will be making, that will basically help you to make the right response in a particular situation or in your particular encounter that you are basically experiencing. Okay, and why proactiveness is very important? Why? Because proactive people, they focus on their circles of influence. It's like you have 2 circles. This is the external environment. You have 2 circles. Okay, 2 circles. All right. This is, for instance, you have 2 circles here. One is so this circle is on The outer circle is the environment, and this inner circle is, you basically. All right. So proactive people, what they do is, they basically focus on what they can do. Okay, which means they don't allow, the environment to influence them, but rather they determine what kind of response they would make whenever the environment, places, whenever the environment tries to impact them. Okay, so here if you can see, so proactive people, they focus on the circles of influence, choosing to work on the things within their control. Okay, for instance, you have a friend who is a very hot tempered person. He comes to you. You cannot change him, but you can certainly change the way you would respond to him or the way you would respond to her. Okay, why? Because you cannot change people. So this proactiveness, is very much required. It's a very important habit. Why? Because it would help you to concentrate on it would help you to concentrate and not allowing the environment to influence you, but rather you influencing the environment. That is why if you are a proactive person, you will be able to influence, you will be able to create a circle of influence. All right. Okay. Why? So meanwhile, if you see reactive people, what happens with reactive people? They focus on their circles of concern. Okay. They are concerned about their career. They are concerned about their exams. They are concerned, okay, about so many things. But in the end, they're so much concerned that they end up, doing nothing, not working or trying to find a solution to it. Okay. And therefore, if you see, so this results in the circle of influence shrinking. Okay. So if you allow the environment to influence you, naturally you will see that, your influence, your area of influence will start shrinking. But proactive people, okay, they don't allow the environment to influence them, but rather they make an effort, they take decisions, they respond in a particular way that they are able to create an area of influence so that they can influence the environment, not the other way around. Okay. All right. So this is the very first habit. Be proactive and take control of your own fate. Okay. Focus on the things that you can do, not on the things that you cannot do. That is what we call as proactiveness. Okay. So first habit is be proactive and start taking control of your own fate. Okay. For instance, if you cannot get up, let us say, if you cannot concentrate on your studies, okay, rather than just, let us say, stressing yourself out and blaming yourself, I'm a lazy person, I'm not able to concentrate on my studies, start being proactive, in which you try to find out a solution, where you try to find out ways in which you can start studying. Okay, that is what we mean by proactive. You respond, you reflect, before you respond. Simply do not respond. Okay, so that is the first habit of highly effective teens. The second habit, okay, is begin with the end in mind. Whenever you perform an action, okay, you're actually performing it twice. Whenever you perform an action, you perform it twice. Why? Because first you perform it in your mind and then you perform it in, let us say, in reality. So when you imagine it, that is the first action that you perform, and then when you physically do it, it is then that you do it for the second time. Okay, for instance, here I've given you an example. For instance, if you build a house, okay, what you will do, you will first visualize what kind of a house you would want to make. First, you would visualize in your mind what kind of a house do I want to have, how many rooms, okay, do I want to have, what kind of rooms, okay, how many living rooms, or how many, let us say, let us say, whether I want a porch or a swimming pool. You would first visualize it. Okay, and after visualizing it, then you would physically, let us say, start constructing the house. Okay, so therefore, the second habit is always begin with the end in mind. Okay, so whether you are at home, okay, at work, take the time required for visualization. Okay, so therefore, if you are at home or if you are at work, take time. For instance, now you are a student, take time and visualize yourself. What kind of a student I want to be? Let us say, after my studies in the college, what type of career I would want to have. Okay, what type of, let us say, let us say, area I would want to go into. Whether I would want to go into business, whether I would want to go into administration, or whether I would want to go into, let us say, even politics or any kind of an area. Visualize yourself, my dear students. Okay, and when you have visualized, okay, then you start acting on it. If you remember, in the first semester we had talked about goal setting. Okay, this is the type of goal setting. So goal setting is very important, and this is the second habit. Begin with the end in mind. Okay, do not simply, let's say, study now without any end, without any goal in your life. Okay, because that will make your life directionless and meaningless. Okay, so therefore, begin with the end in mind. All right, it's very, very important. Okay, and therefore, a very important goal, even if you have a goal in your life, okay, it's very important that you have an ultimate goal. What is that ultimate goal? Okay, so right, it's like a personal mission, statement in your life. Okay, so what's a personal mission statement, or what is that ultimate goal that we want, that I'm talking about right now? It's like this. For instance, here it has given an example in which, imagine yourself. Let us say, I know it's a very odd example, but I'm just giving this example so that you understand. Just imagine, after 3 years, suppose if you die, in your funeral, okay, if you passed away after 3 years, sadly enough, you have passed away, take a moment to visualize your own funeral. Okay, imagine your parents, imagine your teachers, imagine your friends. What would they say about you? As a person, as a son, or as a daughter, or as a friend, okay, or as a student, what would they say about you? Okay, so ask yourself, what would you like them to say in your funeral? Okay, so what sort of person do you want to be remembered as, or for what do you want to be remembered? Okay, because in this world we need to understand the difference being, the difference between efficient and being effective. Okay, being efficient and being effective. Efficient means it's like you are very efficient, you are doing your work well. Okay, it's like you're climbing, like there's a ladder. Okay, there's a ladder and there's a wall. Okay, and this ladder, let us say, but you realize at the end, when you're climbing the wall, it's a wrong wall. It's a wrong wall. But being effective is, your ladder is in the right wall. Okay, right wall. Okay, so what do we mean when we say being deaf? I would stress on this, when, if you have an end in your life, if you have a goal in your life, make sure that goal helps you to become an effective person. All right, in which, let us say, when you die, let us say, when you die, when I'm not saying when you die, I know, of course, every one of us, we know that we will have to die at some point of our lives. Okay, so that when the end comes, in your life, okay, you can become a really effective person, in which, the goal that you have, be it in your career, be it in every kind of goal that you have, it should be linked to this ultimate goal, in which it should help you to be an effective person. Okay, and who is an effective person? Who makes an impact not on just on himself, but especially on the life of others. Okay, I'll just give you an example. Let us say you want to be a rich person. That is your goal in life. But is your wealth going to impact only you or also going to impact the life of others? Is your wealth going to change also the life of others in a better way? Okay, if it does, then yes, you have become an effective person. Let us say some of you will say, oh, I want to become an IAS officer. Okay, it's a very nice, it's a very, let us say, noble goal. All right, but let us say, just ask yourself, if I become an IAS officer, will I become just an efficient or an effective IAS officer? Will me becoming an IAS officer impact the life of others in a positive way? If it does, then yes, I have become an effective person. If not, then I've just become an efficient IAS. Okay? So in any area of your life, make sure that if you have a goal, that goal should be linked to your ultimate goal, in which it should make you an effective person. And who is an effective person? Who impacts the life of others in a positive way. Okay? So be it any career that you choose, make sure, my dear students, okay, or any area of life, make sure that you are making a positive impact on the life of others. As a student, I'm making a positive impact on my teachers. As a student, I'm making as youngster, I'm making a positive impact on the life of my friends. As, let us say, a brother, I'm making a positive impact on the life of my brothers and sisters. Okay, so you can expand this example into different areas of your life. So ultimately, make sure, ask yourself always, what sort of a person do you want to be remembered for when you leave this world? Okay, that is a very important question that you need to ask. Okay, and so we go on to the next habits. That is the third habit. And the third habit is this: put things first. So what do we mean? Please remember this simple maxim: first things first. So when I say first things first, please remember, to prioritize, the things in your life. Prioritize the things in your life. Okay, so how do you prioritize the things in your life? When for instance, now we do so many things, but just ask yourself, are those things making a positive impact in my life? Are those things, let us say, making a positive effect on my life? If I'm spending, let us say, every day 1 hour on Facebook, okay, so just imagine 1 hour every day into 365 days in a year. Okay, how many hours? That is roughly, I'm spending 365 hours. Okay, let us say in here I'm spending about 365 hours on Facebook. Just imagine if you would spend 365 hours reading a book. You can imagine the kind of impact you would be making in this world. Okay, so what I'm just trying to say is focused on the things that make a positive impact in your life. Okay, so just ask yourself, the time that you are spending, let us say, communicating with your friends. I'm not saying that you should not spend time, you should not spend time with your friends. You should, it's very important. But make sure, ask yourself this question: is that time that I'm spending with my friends having any benefits at all in my life? Is it building me up? Is it edifying me? Or even the time that I spend with my friends, is it edifying that person? Is it helping that person, okay, to become a better person in his or her life? Okay, so ask yourself, therefore, okay, and always take care of the first, that is the first things that are very, very important in your life. There is a book also which is about 1%. It's called as 1%. So this book, which is on 1%, it says that very often what happens with us is we concentrate on so many things, okay, on let us say 99%, which is useless, but we forget this 1%, which is very very important. And actually, it is this 1% that will produce results, better results in your life, better results in your life. Okay, so therefore the third habit is put first things first. Okay, and the fourth habit is think win-win. Now, in this type of habit, very often most people, they think on a win-lose. Okay, I make friends with someone, why? Because I want to benefit from that person. Okay, I make a relationship with someone, why? Because I want to make a benefit from that person. It's like I win and the other person loses. And this kind of an attitude will not help us to really be truly successful in our lives. Why? Because the major disadvantage of win-lose mentality is that when two people of this mentality come up against each other, the situation usually becomes a lose-lose one. Okay, because when two people have this type of a mentality, there will be no trust. The atmosphere will always be an atmosphere of mistrust. Okay, so therefore, in the end, both will lose. Okay, so after a bit of fight, both parties, what will happen is they'll end up losing. And who gets to eat the pie? The dog gets the entire pie. That means it is the others who will benefit from that relationship, not the two people who are engaged in that relationship. Okay, so therefore, it is also impossible for a long-term positive relationship to form between two people who are constantly in competition with one another. If you are competing against one another, a win-lose situation, it will not be possible to develop a healthy relationship. Okay, so therefore, what is the let us say the answer to that? Therefore, instead of focusing on a win-lose, focus on a win-win situation in your relationships, in your life. Okay, and therefore you will find that you will be, when you focus on win-win, you will build up positive relationships in your life. Okay, and that kind of a relationship will strengthen their relationship rather than eroding their relationship. Okay, so a good exercise would be, is just think of an important relationship that you have. Okay, and where you'd like to, and tell yourself, just tell yourself that yes, I want to develop a win-win mentality in this relationship. Okay, and how do you do that? You put yourself in the shoes of the other party and write down what would you believe would constitute a win for that person. Okay, so ask yourself, in this relationship with my friend or with anyone, what are the things that can help that person, or what are the things that can benefit that person in this relationship. Okay, and therefore, when you do that, it will actually be like, as you see here, it will be like you are investing in what we call as an emotional bank account. It's like when you are investing, in a win-win situation, when you are having a relationship with a win-win situation, it's like you open a bank account, which is an emotional bank account, and in this bank account, there will be plus always. A lot of things will be deposited here. There will be less minus or withdrawals, there will be more of deposits here. Okay, so therefore, a relationship with another person is like a kind of an emotional bank account, okay, where you put your time, your effort, and goodwill into it, okay, and the balance of the account grows, reflecting the increasing trust between the two parties. So if you have a win-win mentality, you will find that the relationship that you have with people will grow, and it's like that emotional bank account that you have opened will grow, and that will help you to become a truly successful person in your life. Okay, so how can you grow in your balance? How can you make that emotional bank account grow in its balance, grow in its deficit? First is sticking. One example is, like, for instance, sticking to promises you've made. If you've committed to help your friend, make sure you uphold your commitment. Okay, nobody likes people who are only big in words but small in action. Okay, so therefore, stick to your promises and also, listen emphatically to the other person. Always have a listening ear to people in relationship. Why? If you have that kind of a listening ear, or let us say it shows that you are concerned about that person. Okay, whereas a withdrawal from that emotional bank account can be if you have in that relationship you are developing a win-lose situation, a win-lose mentality that will lead to withdrawal from that emotional bank account. Okay, so therefore focus on a win-win mentality. The fifth habit is seek first to understand, then to be understood. It means, imagine you are walking into, for instance, I've given this example. Imagine you are walking into a doctor's office and having the doctor listened absent-mindedly to first few seconds. That means you are telling the doctor that I'm suffering from, let us say, stomach ache, I've eaten this, I've eaten that, and the doctor is listening, but he is actually not listening to you. And let us say he stops you and says, okay, I've had you enough, and he hands you a prescription. Okay, or you go to an optician, who gave you his own glasses without bothering to check your eyesight. He is giving his own glasses to you without checking your eyesight. Would you trust such a doctor? Would you trust such an optician? No. Why? Because all they are concerned is about themselves. They are not concerned about you. Okay, so therefore the fifth habit is, be concerned about the other person. Seek first to understand the other person rather than just asking them to understand me first. Okay, put them first in your life. Okay, so therefore, according to the experts in communication, they say that words just make up 10% of what we say, while sounds make up 30% of that communication. Actually, a body language makes up 60%. Body language makes up 60%. In your conversations, that is why they say words, actually words are, it's okay if words are not there. Why? Because even in that conversation, if you have with someone, if you would just concentrate on their body language, you would find many things actually that they would want. What I would say is like many things would be spoken of, not just with words, but just from the body language that person is communicating. Okay, so therefore I would encourage you, my dear students, to be, so therefore, as it says here, most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. Okay, or what? Therefore, I would encourage you to be to develop, empathy in your relationship. Okay, try to develop this in your life, and you will find that yes, then you'll be able to develop successful relationships. Okay, and you can become a successful person in your life. All right, and the sixth habit is synergize by treating others with openness and respect. Okay, and what is synergy mean? Synergy means a situation where the contributions of many add up to a total that exceeds the combined contribution of the individuals. It's like you have different forces. In public administration, there's a theory called systems theory. Okay, and it says that when different forces in that system, when they act, let us say move, all these forces, when they move in the same direction, okay, then the results that you would get from that would be tremendous. The result would be a really, let us say, a very big result. Okay, so that is basically synergy. So try to develop, or what, in other ways, what we would say as teamwork. Okay, for instance, each of us sees the world differently, and we each have our own particular strengths. So we can actually leverage the power of differences that we have. Okay, by valuing valuing those differences. For instance, in our college, we have people coming from different race, from different regions, from different ethnic groups. Instead of looking at those differences in a very negative way, let's look at those differences in a positive way where we can learn. Okay, we can learn from the other person. Okay. And when we learn from the differences of the other person, there are so many things, so many positive things that we can actually also learn them in, put them into practice in our lives. Okay, so that is, synergizing. All right. Okay, valuing the differences. Okay, and actually knowing that those differences will actually make a contribution. Okay, in our goal. Okay, so make a list of people you find it difficult to discuss things with and think about their views. If you were more confident and open-minded, do you think you could find synergies between your perspective and theirs? Find out, let us say in your friends circle, some of your friends maybe they have different point of view on a particular issue. Just discuss with them and be open. Develop openness, okay, and respect, okay, and you will find that actually the result that would come out from such a discussion, with if you are entering that discussion with openness and respect, you will find that the result would be really tremendous. Okay, and the last habit that we would find is, sharpen the saw if you want to keep sawing. Okay, for instance, if lumberjacks, those are cutting down trees, if they spend all their life cutting down trees without sharpening the saw, just imagine, they will not be able later to fell even a single tree. Okay, that's why sharpening your saw is essential for lasting effectiveness. Okay, and there are four important areas in which you should sharpen your saw. One is the physical. In the first is physically, where you need to exercise, eat healthy, and avoid undue stress. Okay, I would request especially students to kindly make sure that you get a good amount of sleep, because especially now with all this PUBG and SUBG and all, it's very, very difficult. I find some students, they are unduly stressing themselves out, not getting the required amount of rest that require, and therefore it is really hampering them and their effectiveness. Okay, so first area that you should sharpen your saw is, in the physical part, where you need to exercise yourself, eat healthily, and avoid undue stress. The second part is your spiritual aspect. It's very important also that you look into this aspect and make sure that this aspect also, for instance, meditation can be one, as meditation can really help you to improve your spiritual health. All right, and those whose spiritual health is, let us say, very good, you will find that even if they have stresses and all, they will not, let us say, go up even to the extent of committing suicide. They'll have problems, yes, but if their spiritual health is very good, they'll be able to deal with those problems in their lives. Okay, so make sure, okay, that you have you make sure you look into this area of your spiritual health also. And another part is mentally. Look into your mental health also. One way of looking into that is where you read plenty of good books. Okay, books which, let us say, build you, they motivate you. Okay, and spend much and avoid spending too much time, let us say, even in your mobile phones, even on your TV screen. Okay, avoid binge television. Okay, where we especially watch those series from season 1 to season 6. Okay, which in the end does not let us say edify or build you in any way. Okay, so avoid things which do not contribute in your life. Okay, organize and plan things accordingly. Okay, also are ways in which when you organize and plan things, they are also good exercise to keep your mind sharp and fresh. Okay, and another part is fourth dimension or fourth aspect is taking care of your social and emotional health by deliberately seeking to understand others, building positive relationships with them, and working on projects that help improve their lives. Okay, that means taking care of your social aspect also. In this regard, I would request, especially your dear students, okay, make sure that you, when you are with your family members, when you are with your friends, can you keep that mobile phone away? Okay, can you concentrate, live on the moment, enjoy the moment? Okay, because you realize that after, let us say, a few years, your parents will not be there with you. They are old, and let us say, especially if your parents are very much into their 50s and 60s, you will, let us say, in a few years, they'll not be there with us. So, therefore, spend the time now. Enjoy the time that you're spending with them now. Okay, so keep aside that mobile phone. Okay, and just concentrate on the conversation that you're having with them. Enjoy the conversation, the moments that you're having with your parents, with your brothers and sisters, with your friends and family members. Okay, live in the moment, my dear students. Okay, so these are the 4 areas which you need to sharpen your saw. Okay, so to make sure you truly sharpen your saw, what you can do as an activity is write down activities that you think could contribute to your well-being in each of the 4 dimensions. Okay, for instance, I'll just give you an example. Maybe you can assign, let us say, 5 minutes every morning I will meditate and pray. Okay, that will be a very good exercise which will really help in your spiritual. Or let's say every day I would spend around 15 minutes reading a book. I'm not saying take big goals, but small steps. Let's say 15 minutes or 10 minutes I'll read a book every day. Okay, or let us say in your social and emotional health, what you can you just promise yourself, okay, I will spend, let us say, meaningful time with my parents at least 10 to 15 minutes every day. Just sit with them and just be with them. Okay, so just ask yourself, write down those activities that you can contribute, and make sure you work on them. And I believe now your life after your studies or after a few years, you will find that yes, your life will really be a life in which your character is built up, and in which that true success which you desire in your life is really you have achieved it. Okay? So thank you for listening, my dear students. All the best, and looking forward to meet you again in another class. Thank you.